Alright, so this is going to sound like the cliché, guy gets screwed over, finds a way back story, but it happened to me, and it still feels unreal when I think about it. I don't usually post on Reddit, but I lurk a lot in places like ProRevenge, malicious compliance, and even cryptocurrency. Reading other people's stories actually kept me sane when everything in my life was falling apart. So, I figured maybe mine might give someone else a little hope, or at least some entertainment. I used to be a trader. Not the Wall Street, three-piece suit, yelling on the phone kind of trader, but a crypto trader, one of those weirdos who stares at candlestick charts for hours and actually enjoys it. I worked for a pretty big investment firm that specialized in digital assets. They weren't a household name, but in the crypto world, they were considered heavy hitters. Hedge fund money, venture capital backing, billions under management. The kind of firm that hires quants with PhDs in math to squeeze an extra 0.5% of alpha out of trades. And me? I wasn't some MIT prodigy or math genius. I was just a guy who had been obsessed with crypto since the early Bitcoin days. I taught myself coding, built trading bots for fun, and spent years failing, learning, adjusting. By the time I landed at this firm, I had something most of those PhDs didn't, actual battlefield experience. I knew how markets felt. I could read order books like body language. And when I combined that instinct with the machine learning strategies I had built, it was like turning night into day. Within 6 months of joining, I'd written an algorithm that could predict short-term momentum shifts with frightening accuracy. We're talking identifying accumulation before pumps, spotting hidden sell walls, detecting wash trading patterns, stuff the average retail trader never even notices. My bot would see it, react, and pull millions in profit in minutes. The firm was making obscene money off my work. But here's the thing. I never saw a dime of it. I still remember the first time I walked into the managing director's office after one of our algorithms cleared $8 million in profits in a single week. My heart was pounding. I wasn't cocky, but I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd throw me a bone. "Hey, Jim," I said, standing at the door. Jim was one of those guys who always wore expensive suits and had the permanent tan of someone who spent more time on golf courses than in offices. He didn't even look up from his screen. "What's up?" he muttered. "So, about the trading strategy we rolled out last month. It crushed it. I mean, literally 8 figures in realized gains. I was wondering if there's any performance bonus structure for developers." He finally looked at me, smirked, and leaned back. "Listen, we pay you a good salary, right?" I nodded. It was decent, sure, but nothing compared to what I was making for them. "Well then, let's not get greedy. This is a team effort. Everyone contributes. Just be glad you're part of a winning firm." And that was that. No bonus. No acknowledgement. Just a pat on the head and a reminder to stay in my lane. I swallowed it for a while. I told myself, whatever, keep your head down, prove your worth, and maybe they'll notice eventually. But the pattern kept repeating. Every algorithm I built, every strategy I backtested and deployed, it was like handing them golden eggs and getting scraps in return. What really stung wasn't even the money. It was the lack of respect. In team meetings, they'd present my ideas as if they came from management. They never mentioned me by name. I was invisible, just the code monkey in the corner. Then came the knife in the back. It was a Friday afternoon, and HR asked me to step into a conference room. My stomach dropped instantly. You never want to hear that. The HR lady looked nervous, like she didn't even want to be there. Jim sat across from me with another senior partner, arms folded, looking smug. Effective immediately, we're going to have to let you go, HR said, reading off a sheet. I blinked. Wait, what? Why? I just rolled out a new upgrade to the trading bot last week. Staff reductions, Jim interrupted. Nothing personal. Just restructuring. You understand. I laughed, but not because it was funny. More like one of those broken laughs where your brain can't process reality. Restructuring? You're making record profits. Jim shrugged. Markets are unpredictable. We have to tighten belts somewhere. Best of luck in your future endeavors. And that was it. They fired me. No warning, no severance beyond the bare legal minimum. Just a cold goodbye. The first few weeks after that were a blur. I couldn't believe it. One day I was indispensable, the next I was disposable. And to make it worse, the crypto market had just taken one of its infamous nosedives. Bitcoin went from 60 grand to 30 in what felt like a heartbeat. Firms were freezing hiring. Nobody was bringing on new traders, let alone developers from a competitor. I burned through my savings fast. Rent, bills, groceries, gone. I had thought I was smart with money, but the truth is, when you're single and making six figures, you live like it'll never end. Nice apartment downtown, gadgets, eating out. Within 6 months, I was flat broke. I remember the day I got the eviction notice. It was taped to my door in big red letters, "Final warning." I stood there holding it, numb. That apartment had been my sanctuary. It had a view of the river, a little balcony where I used to sit with my laptop, coding late into the night. Losing it felt like losing a piece of myself. I moved into a friend's spare room, humiliated. Depression hit hard. I stopped checking charts, stopped coding, stopped caring. I felt like a fraud, like maybe the firm had been right, and I wasn't as valuable as I thought. But here's the thing about hitting rock bottom, sometimes it shakes something loose. One night, I couldn't sleep. I was scrolling through some old code, half out of nostalgia, half out of self-loathing. That's when I noticed something strange in the logs from the trading bot I'd built for the firm. A tiny inconsistency. At first I thought I was imagining it, but the more I dug, the more I realized there was a flaw. It wasn't obvious. It wasn't something that would crash the system or blow up the portfolio. But it was there, a subtle bias in the way the algorithm interpreted certain order book anomalies. Over time, it would compound. It wouldn't destroy them overnight, but it would bleed them slowly, like a leak in a submarine. I sat there, staring at my screen, heart racing. They had stolen my work, discarded me like trash, and they were sitting on a ticking time bomb. At that moment, something inside me shifted. The depression didn't vanish, but it hardened into determination. If they think I'm done, they're dead wrong. I spent the next few weeks living like a man possessed. Every waking hour, I coded. I rebuilt my old algorithms from scratch, improved them, patched the flaws, and refined the models. I wasn't doing it for them anymore, I was doing it for me. I started a tiny site, just a basic analytics dashboard at first. Real-time signals, back-tested strategy reports, volatility alerts. Nothing fancy, but it worked. I called it Signal Forge. Corny name, but it felt right. At first, nobody cared. I had zero marketing budget, no reputation outside my old firm, nothing. But I hustled. I posted insights on Twitter and Reddit. I shared free daily signals in crypto trading forums. I wrote Medium articles breaking down market moves with charts and data nobody else was showing. Slowly, people started noticing. I still remember the first email I got from a subscriber. "Hey man, your BTC signal yesterday saved my ass. Just signed up for the premium plan. Keep it up." Premium plan. $20 a month. I literally cried when I saw the PayPal notification. It wasn't about the money, it was the validation. Someone believed in me again. Within 3 months, I had a few hundred subscribers. Then a few thousand. Then institutional players started sniffing around, asking about enterprise packages. My little side project had become a real business. But I wasn't just building a company, I was building my life back. I moved out of my friend's spare room into a tiny studio. Then into a nicer apartment. I ate better, slept better, felt human again. And all the while, I kept an eye on my old firm. Publicly, they were still posturing as kings of the crypto game. But I could see it in the market data, the flaw in their bot was eating them alive. Their trades were predictable, sloppy even. I knew exactly what was happening, because I had built the damn thing. That's when the idea of revenge started to take root. But I'll stop here for now, because this is getting long. The second part is where things get really wild, the regulators, the bankruptcy, the final payback. But this first half, this was my fall. My betrayal, my lowest point. If there's one thing I learned from it, it's this: nobody is irreplaceable to a corporation. But your skills, your passion, that can't be taken from you. And sometimes, losing everything is the only way to realize what you're truly capable of. So, where did I leave off? Me clawing my way out of the gutter and slowly rebuilding my life with Signal Forge. By the time a year had passed, things were surreal. The kid who had been sleeping in his friend's spare room, eating instant noodles and staring at eviction notices, was suddenly running a real company. We weren't some giant hedge fund, but Signal Forge was pulling in steady monthly revenue. Subscriptions were growing. A couple of family offices and boutique funds had signed enterprise contracts worth 6 figures annually. I had a team of 3 now, 2 developers and 1 community manager. And the best part? I was free. Nobody was standing over me, taking credit for my ideas, dismissing my work as just part of the team. When people paid for my product, they knew exactly whose brain was behind it. Mine. But in the back of my mind, there was always that unfinished business with my old firm. It started as curiosity. I'd monitor their wallets and trading activity the way a hunter watches prey tracks. I knew their patterns. I had written the patterns. And I could see the bleed. Small at first, then bigger. Their trades were still profitable sometimes, sure, but increasingly erratic. The flaw I'd spotted wasn't catastrophic in a single trade, it was in the compounding. The algorithm had a bias in how it interpreted spoofing signals. It kept falling for fake order walls. Market makers love that trick. They'll put up a giant sell wall, make the bot panic sell, then pull the wall and buy cheap. My old firm's bot was eating it every single time. To someone outside, it probably looked like bad luck. To me, it was like watching a house slowly fill with termites. One day, I got coffee with an old colleague, one of the few people at the firm who had treated me like a human being. He was nervous, looking over his shoulder, but he finally said, "Man, I don't know how much longer I can stay. The fund's bleeding. We've had 3 losing quarters in a row. Partners are getting antsy. Clients are asking questions. Management keeps blaming market conditions, but honestly, feels like something's broken in the system." I just nodded, sipping my coffee, hiding the smirk threatening to creep across my face. I knew exactly what was broken. That was when the idea hit me. Revenge didn't have to be me hacking them or sabotaging their systems. That would have been reckless, illegal, stupid. No, they had already sabotaged themselves. All I had to do was shine a light on it. I started small. Anonymous tips to a few crypto journalists. Nothing dramatic, just breadcrumbs. Phrases like rumors of systematic losses and possible algorithmic trading flaws. The kind of whispers that make reporters dig. Then I drafted something much bigger, a dossier. Charts, trade data, timestamps. I laid it out cleanly, methodically, like a forensic report. No fingerprints pointing back to me, just facts. At the end of the document, I included a little note: this firm's algorithmic trading system is vulnerable to market manipulation. Investors deserve transparency. Regulators deserve answers. And then I sent it straight to the National Financial Regulator. For a while, nothing happened. I went back to running Signal Forge, posting market insights, living my new life. But then one morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing non-stop. Headlines everywhere. Major crypto investment firm under investigation for algorithmic failures. Regulators probe trading practices amid investor complaints. Sources: firm's algorithm may be susceptible to market manipulation. I nearly dropped my coffee. It was happening. Clients started pulling out in droves. Nobody wants their money in a fund being investigated. The firm tried to put out fires, releasing statements about temporary volatility and unfounded rumors, but the data didn't lie. Regulators started combing through their trades, and the flaw became undeniable. And here's the kicker: those fines were brutal. In the traditional finance world, regulators slap you with a penalty and you recover. In crypto, reputation is everything. Once the word was out that the cutting-edge trading bot was actually a lemon, their image shattered. Investors left. Partners quit. Within 6 months, the firm filed for bankruptcy protection. I'd like to say I felt pure joy. That I popped champagne and danced around my apartment when I heard the news. But honestly, my first reaction was quiet. Almost solemn. I sat there, staring at the article on my laptop, and whispered, "You did this to yourself." Because it was true. They had taken me for granted, exploited my work, discarded me, and in their arrogance, they never even realized they were sitting on a floor that would sink them. They thought firing me was saving money. Instead, it cost them everything. Of course, once the initial shock passed, I celebrated. Quietly, but oh man, it felt good. I treated myself to a ridiculous steak dinner. A bottle of whiskey that cost more than my rent used to. For the first time in years, I felt vindicated. Signal Forge kept growing. The publicity from the investigation actually helped me. Suddenly, traders and funds were looking for alternatives, something more transparent, built by someone they could trust. My subscriber base doubled in 2 months. Revenue tripled. By the end of that year, I cleared my first $1 million in net profit. Think about that. I went from being fired and evicted to millionaire entrepreneur in under 2 years. Sometimes I think back to that conversation in Jim's office, the way he smirked when I asked about bonuses. "Don't get greedy," he said. I wonder if he ever thought about me when the firm went under. Did he remember the quiet coder in the corner who built the system he bet everything on? Did he realize the irony, that the guy he tossed aside was the one who predicted their downfall before anyone else? I'll never know. And honestly, I don't care anymore. The funny thing is, I didn't even need to touch their system to destroy them. I didn't break laws, didn't hack, didn't steal. I just knew. Knew their weakness, knew their arrogance, and let the world see what I saw. That was enough. And if you want the reflective, lesson learned part, here it is. Don't give everything to a company that sees you as disposable. Your skills, your ideas, your passion, they belong to you, not them. If they don't respect that, walk away before they crush you. Also, rock bottom isn't the end. It's the start. Losing everything forced me to build something of my own. Something no one can take away. Now, when I sit on my balcony, different apartment, much nicer view, and watch the river at night, I think about that eviction notice taped to my old door. Back then, it felt like the end of my life. But in reality, it was the beginning. And every time I see another headline about firms collapsing under their own greed, I smile a little. Because I know I survived, I thrived, and I got my revenge, not by destroying them, but by building myself.